Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're looking into revival waves of glory ministries and some of Bill Vincent's teachings.
Right.
This guy seems intense.
Oh, yeah.
From what I've seen so far, he definitely doesn't hold back.
Yeah, he say.
And we're diving into a sermon all about the pressures of ministry,
Okay.
specifically how fear can impact leaders and congregations.
Interesting.
So are you ready for some really intense topics and vivid imagery?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think what really struck me right off the bat is how Vincent kind of challenges this uh, romanticized view of pastors.
Right.
Like, we often put them up on a pedestal, like
Yeah.
they're somehow above the everyday struggles of everyone else.
Mm.
But Vincent just throws that out the window.
Yeah.
And he actually calls it the mask of ministry, where pastors feel this need to hide all their fears and anxieties.
So they're putting on a performance.
Exactly. It's like projecting this image of unwavering strength and confidence, even if they're battling their own internal demons.
Yeah.
And Vincent argues that this pressure to maintain that flawless facade can be really damaging.
Right.
Not only does it lead to burnout among pastors, but it also prevents them from forming genuine connections with their congregation.
Yeah, it's like it builds a wall.
Exactly.
It's a wall between the leader and the people they're leading.
Yeah, and he compares it to ministers becoming mask wearers, constantly working to maintain this stainless steel image, totally detached from, like,
Real life.
the real messy experiences of life.
And that ties directly into the whole theme of this sermon.
Yeah.
The torment of fear in ministry.
I think that analogy is so powerful because it highlights the isolation many pastors actually experience.
Yeah.
Vincent argues that fear, this pervasive fear, is a weapon that Satan uses to cripple ministries.
Wow.
And what's interesting is he emphasizes that this fear isn't limited to just the pastor.
Yeah.
It ripples outward and affects the whole congregation.
So like a spiritual contagion.
Exactly. The pastor's fear creates this atmosphere of timidity in the church and hinders everyone's spiritual growth. Wow.
And this is where Vincent's call for authenticity and transparency becomes so crucial.
Okay.
He believes that when pastors can be real about their struggles,
Yeah.
it creates space for everyone in the congregation to do the same.
Right.
It fosters a more supportive and genuine community.
It's about recognizing
Right.
shared humanity.
Yeah, breaking down those walls and recognizing our shared humanity.
He doesn't just advocate for authenticity, though.
No.
He gives some solutions
Yeah.
for overcoming fear.
Right.
He urges pastors and the congregation to confront these fears head on,
Right.
recognize where they're coming from, and seek God's strength to overcome them.
Yeah, he uses some strong language like ripping off the mask of fear and refusing to be ruled by it.
It's like a revolution.
It is. It's a call for a spiritual revolution, a shift from timidity to boldness.
Wow. And he doesn't just talk about overcoming fear.
Yeah,
He demonstrates it
he does.
through prophecies and words of knowledge.
That he shares with individuals in the congregation.
Well, he calls people out.
By name.
He does. And while it might not resonate with everyone, it's clear that Vincent sees these prophecies as a way to break down fear and empower individuals to step into the fullness of what God has for them.
So he's not trying to impress people.
Right. It's not about
It's more about a tool.
Exactly. It's a tool to break down those walls and help people step into their calling.
Okay, so give me an example.
Absolutely. So he speaks to a man named Ran and tells him that God is going to fulfill the desires of his heart and make him a worship band.
Wow.
Even describing a vision of musical instruments hanging from Ran.
Oh, wow.
It's really beautiful imagery.
That's amazing. I bet Rand was so encouraged.
I think so too.
And it all goes back to pastors modeling courage.
Yeah,
Stepping out in faith.
exactly. Vincent's not just preaching a message, he's living it out.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in learning more about Bill Vincent and Revival Waves of Glory Ministries, you can visit their website at revivalwavesofgloryministries.com.
That's great. Now, before we get too far ahead, I want to circle back to this idea of fear hindering ministry.
Okay,
I think a lot of people can relate to that, even if
Yeah.
they're not a pastor.
right.
Have you ever felt that fear held you back from something you felt called to do?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all wrestle with fear to some degree, and Vincent really highlights how it can be a major roadblock, not just for pastors, but for anyone who feels called to serve in the church.
So what's the solution?
Yeah.
It's easy to just say, don't be afraid, but it's hard to actually overcome that fear.
Yeah, you're so right. And Vincent acknowledges that. He points out that many people hold back from using their gifts because they're afraid of judgment or they doubt their own abilities.
Yeah.
It's like this inner critic constantly whispering, "Who are you to do this?" Or "What if you mess
Oh,
up?"
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
So easy to get stuck in self-doubt.
It really is, but Vincent encourages us to challenge those thoughts and recognize that they often stem from fear, not truth.
Okay.
He actually tells the story about a time when he himself hesitated to share a prophetic word during a service.
Oh, wow. So he's been there.
Yeah, like he's saying, hey, I get it. This stuff can be scary.
So what happened? Did he share the word?
He did, but only after his pastor urged him to saying, if you shut your mouth and never tell me, then you haven't done anything.
Wow. What a great pastor.
Right.
That's the kind of encouragement we need sometimes.
Yeah, it is. And that brings us to another important point that Vincent raises.
Okay.
The importance of supporting ministers and recognizing the unique pressures they face.
Yeah.
He talks about how pastors often carry a heavy burden of responsibility. They can feel isolated and overwhelmed by the demands of ministry.
It's a tough job for sure.
It is. So Vincent suggests that congregations show their appreciation by offering practical support.
Like what?
Like providing meals, helping with childcare, or even just words of encouragement.
That's nice.
Yeah, just recognizing that pastors are human beings too.
Right. They have needs and limits.
Exactly. He even proposes the idea of a pastor's appreciation month,
I like that.
where churches intentionally focus on honoring and supporting their leaders.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
A tangible way to show gratitude.
Right. Now, going back to those personal prophecies in the sermon,
Okay.
Vincent doesn't stop with Ran.
Oh,
He also speaks to a woman named Mary
okay.
and tells her that God is going to pop her bubble and bring out the little girl inside of her who has been silenced.
Wow.
He even talks about giving her a sharp tongue to operate in spiritual authority.
Whoa, what does that even mean, giving her a sharp tongue?
It's definitely some colorful language.
Yeah.
But I think what Vincent's getting at is that Mary might have been holding back, possibly due to past hurts or a fear of confrontation.
Right.
And God wants to equip her to speak truth boldly.
Even if it ruffles some feathers. Exactly. And notice how Vincent doesn't shy away from using strong, evocative language.
Yeah.
He tells Mary that God is going to clean her house and make her ready for ministry,
Oh, wow.
suggesting that there might be some things in her life that need to be dealt with before she can fully step into her calling.
So God's doing a deep work. Right. And this theme of God doing a deep work in us continues with the next prophecy.
Okay.
Vincent speaks to a couple named Sam and Paula,
Right.
telling them that God's going to remove their anchors and break them so he can put them back together better.
That's intense.
It is intense.
But there's hope there.
Right. It's a message of hope and transformation.
Yeah, like God's going to break us free from stuff that's holding us back.
Exactly. And, it's fascinating how Vincent connects these personal prophecies back to the overarching theme of fear.
Right.
He's essentially saying, look, this is what it looks like to break free from fear's grip and step into the fullness of who God created you to be.
Powerful stuff.
It is.
Each prophecy is like a mini sermon.
Exactly. And remember, if you're intrigued by what you're hearing about Revival Waves of Glory Ministries and Bill Vincent's unique approach to ministry, you can always learn more by visiting their website at revivalwavesofgloryministries.com.
That's a great reminder. Now, we've talked a lot about these prophecies and their impact, but I'm curious about Vincent's message on supporting ministers.
Okay.
What else does he say about that?
Well, he emphasizes that it goes beyond just a Pastor's Appreciation Month, though that's a great start.
Right.
It's about a consistent posture of support.
Okay.
Pastors are human just like everyone else in the congregation.
Yeah.
They have family struggles, moments of doubt.
They're not superhuman.
No. Recognizing that humanity is key.
So it's about seeing them as fellow travelers
Exactly.
and not these perfect figures.
Right. And practically speaking, it can be as simple as a word of encouragement,
Okay.
asking how they're really doing or helping out with tasks that free up their time for ministry and rest,
Right.
things like that.
And he's not afraid to talk about the financial side of things.
Right. He does touch on the need for congregations to be generous and responsible in how they care for their pastors financially.
Okay.
It alleviates a lot of pressure
Yeah.
and allows them to focus on their calling.
Without the added stress.
It's like, take care of the shepherd and the sheep will be taken care of.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into this sermon,
Okay.
I want to circle back to one more prophecy that really stood out to me.
Right.
Vincent speaks to a man named Ben,
Okay.
who he senses is struggling with a defeated spirit.
Oh, that's tough.
It is.
What did he tell him?
Well, he starts by encouraging Ben,
Okay.
telling him it's okay to let people know when something's bothering him,
Mm-hmm.
that holding it all inside isn't healthy.
Right.
He urges Ben to come forth and not get lost in the crowd.
That's encouraging.
It is, and I imagine that was incredibly validating for Ben.
Yeah.
To have someone acknowledge his struggle and give him permission to be real about it.
And it reinforces that need for authenticity.
Exactly. Creating a space where people feel safe to express their struggles.
It doesn't stop there, though, does it?
No. He also addresses Ben's mom
Oh, wow.
and prophesies over her that God is going to open the windows of heaven and bless her abundantly.
He also tells her that her time is now.
Oh, yeah.
Implying that maybe she's been putting her own dreams on hold for too long.
I love that he includes her.
Yeah.
It shows God cares for everyone.
Exactly, not just the leaders.
And you know what's cool? He even adds a bit of humor.
Yeah, he does.
He says, when mom is happy, everybody's happy.
Yeah, it lightens the mood.
It does.
And reminds us that God wants us to experience joy and laughter.
Even when things are tough.
Exactly.
Bill Vincent seems like a really interesting guy.
He is.
Blending truth with humor and those vivid prophecies.
It's really captivating.
It makes sense why he's got such a following.
Yeah, it does.
Anyone who wants to learn more about Revival Waves of Glory Ministries should visit revivalwavesofgloryministries.com.
Definitely.
That's their website.
It is. And as we wrap up this deep dive into this sermon, the biggest takeaway for me is that fear doesn't have to have the final word in our lives. Vincent's sermon is a powerful reminder that we can break free from fear's grip and step boldly into the fullness of what God has for us.
That's a message of hope,
It is.
courage, and transformation.
Yeah.
It goes beyond any denomination.
Oh, it does.
I think everyone needs to hear this,
I agree.
no matter your background or your beliefs.
Absolutely. And remember, even if the way Vincent expresses these truths doesn't fully resonate with you, the core message is universal. God wants us to live free from fear and empowered by his love.
It's been so interesting exploring this with you.
Thanks for having me.
You've shared some thought-provoking material, and I think our listeners will find it really captivating.
I hope so.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Dive Podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I think we all struggle with that fear in some way.
Yeah.
And Vincent really highlights how fear can be a roadblock, not just for pastors, but for anyone who feels called to serve.
So what's the solution? It's easy to say, don't be afraid.
Right.
But how do you actually overcome that?
You're right. And Vincent acknowledges that he points out that people hold back from using their gifts because they're afraid of judgment.
Oh, yeah.
Or they doubt their own abilities. It's like that inner critic. Who are you to do this? Or what if you mess up?
I know that feeling. It's so easy to get stuck in that.
It is, but Vincent encourages us to challenge those thoughts
Okay.
and recognize that they come from fear, not truth. And he tells a story about a time when he himself hesitated to share a prophetic word.
Oh, wow. So he's been there.
Yeah, he gets it can be scary.
So what happened? Did he end up sharing the word?
He did,
Okay.
but only after his pastor urged him to.
Oh, wow.
He said, "If you shut your mouth and never tell me, then you haven't done anything."
That's good, pastor.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need that little push.
Yeah, just that nudge.
Just step out.
Exactly.
And it sounds like his pastor was good at that.
He was. And that brings us to another important point that Vincent makes.
Okay.
The importance of supporting ministers and recognizing those unique pressures they face.
Yeah, they have a tough job.
They do. He talks about how pastors carry a heavy burden. They can feel isolated or overwhelmed.
That comes with a lot of scrutiny
It does.
and expectations.
So Vincent suggests that congregations show their appreciation
Oh.
by offering practical support like meals, childcare,
Okay.
or even just words of encouragement.
That's nice, just acknowledging that they're human
Exactly.
with needs and limits.
He even proposes a Pastor's Appreciation Month,
I love that.
where churches intentionally focus on honoring and supporting their leaders.
What a great idea.
Right. It's a tangible way to demonstrate that gratitude
And it is.
and create that culture of appreciation.
Okay, so going back to the personal prophecies in the sermon.
Yes, Vincent doesn't just stop with Ran. He speaks to a woman named Mary.
Okay.
He says God's going to pop her bubble and bring out the little girl inside of her who has been silenced.
Wow.
He talks about giving her a sharp tongue to operate in spiritual authority.
What does that even mean? A sharp tongue.
It's definitely strong imagery.
Yeah.
I think what Vincent's saying is that Mary might have been holding back, maybe because of past hurts or fear of confrontation.
Okay.
And God wants her to speak truth boldly.
Even if it's controversial.
Like exact.
To speak truth without authority.
Yes. And notice Vincent's not afraid to use strong language.
Right?
He tells Mary God's going to clean her house and make her ready for ministry.
So there's a deep work happening
Yeah, like some things in her life need to be dealt with.
before she can step into her calling.
Exactly. And this theme of God doing a deep work,
Mm-hmm.
it continues in the next prophecy.
Oh.
He speaks to a couple, Sam and Paula.
Okay.
He tells them God is going to remove their anchors and break them so he can put them back together better.
Whoa, that sounds intense.
It is.
But there's hope there.
Yeah, a message of hope and transformation.
It's like God can break us free from things that are holding us back.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how he connects these personal prophecies to the theme of fear. Like,
Yeah.
look, this is what it looks like to break free from fear and step into who God created you to be.
Each prophecy is like a mini sermon.
They are. And remember, if you're intrigued by all this and Bill Vincent's approach, you can check out their website, revivalwavesofgloryministries.com.
Great reminder.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about the prophecies and their impact,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm curious about supporting ministers.
Okay.
What else does Vincent say about that?
Well, he says it's more than just a pastor's appreciation month,
Hmm.
which is a great start,
Right.
but it's really about consistent support.
Okay.
You know, they're human,
Right.
just like everyone else.
They have families.
Yeah.
They struggle. They doubt.
Exactly.
We have to see that.
Yeah, recognize their humanity.
So it's seeing them as people on the same journey.
Yes. Fellow travelers.
Yeah. Not these perfect figures.
Right. And practically speaking,
Yeah.
it's as simple as offering a word of encouragement,
Okay.
asking how they're doing, really, or helping out with tasks to free up their time.
Yeah, giving them time to minister and rest.
Exactly.
And what about the money?
Oh, right.
Churches don't always pay their pastors a ton.
You're right. He does talk about that.
Okay.
The need for generosity
Yeah.
and responsibility in caring for pastors financially.
To take the pressure off.
Right, so they can focus on their calling.
Like that old saying,
Yeah.
take care of the shepherd and the sheep will be taken care of.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up, I
Yeah.
want to mention one more prophecy
Okay.
that stood out to me.
All right.
Vincent speaks to a man named Ben,
Okay.
and he senses this defeated spirit.
Oh, that's got to be tough.
Yeah.
What did he say to him?
He encourages him, first of all,
Okay.
says it's okay to let people know when something's bothering you.
Right.
Holding it in isn't healthy.
No.
He urges Ben to come forth,
Wow.
to not get lost in the crowd.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I bet Ben felt seen.
Yeah, acknowledge.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to be real.
And that goes back to that authenticity,
Exactly.
creating that safe space.
Right.
But it doesn't end there, does it?
No. He actually speaks to Ben's mom, too.
Oh, wow. What does he say?
He prophesies over her
Okay.
that God's going to open the windows of heaven,
Right.
bless her abundantly.
Wow.
And he tells her, your time is now.
So she's been waiting.
Yeah, like she's put her dreams on hold.
I love that he includes her.
Yeah.
It shows God cares for everyone.
He does. It's not just about the leaders.
And then he adds some humor.
Yeah, he does.
He says, when Mama's happy, everybody's happy.
It's great, isn't it?
It is. It just lightens things up.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds us that God wants us to have joy,
Yeah,
even in the serious times.
exactly.
Bill Vincent sounds like a really interesting guy.
He is.
This mix of truth and
Yeah.
humor
Yeah,
and those powerful prophecies.
it's captivating.
It's no wonder he has such a following.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about Revival Waves of Glory Ministries, check out their website, revivalwavesofgloryministries.com.
A great resource.
Yeah, as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
the biggest takeaway for me
Yeah.
is that fear doesn't get the last word.
Okay.
This sermon reminds us we can break free from fear's grip
Okay.
and step into God's plan for us.
A message of hope and courage,
Absolutely.
transformation.
It goes beyond denomination.
It does. This is for everyone,
I think so.
no matter what you believe.
And even if you don't agree with everything,
Yeah.
the core message
Mhm.
is universal.
Okay.
God wants us to be free from fear
Right.
and empowered by his love.
This has been so interesting.
Thanks for having me.
Really thought-provoking stuff. I think our listeners will be captivated by this.
I hope so.
Thanks for listening to the Deep Dive Podcast.